Far away from the bustle of the city, there's a tiny, abandoned village where people still get up at the dawn. The smell of the ground mingles with hope as wheat fields wave in the morning breeze. Two friends, Valor, an elderly wearer, and Rusty, a devoted village dog, lived in this peaceful area. Young, brown, and full of energy, Rusty was constantly running around the farmhouse. Every night, he protected his master's house by chasing crows, barking at shadows, and waving his tail at anyone who dared to look at him. In contrast, Valor was elderly, his primary grade, and his eyes were heavy with age. He now carried sacks of hay and memories, yet he had once ridden through war and thunder. One was full of youth, while the other was full of wisdom. However, they met every evening close to the fence dividing the yard from the barn. Their silent chats would start when the light became golden behind the trees. Rusty proudly turned to face the farmhouse one evening as the sky became orange. "You know, Valor," he remarked, "people are really unique. They look after us, provide for us, and keep us safe. We were created to serve them, in my opinion. I would sacrifice myself for my master." Valor looked at the young dog with his aged eyes. His expression was almost pitiful. "Rusty, you're young. Your heart still believes in promises because of this. Tell me something, though. Will your master still take care of you when your legs become weak and you are unable to protect the house or pursue intruders?" Rusty cocked his head in perplexity. "He will, of course. My master adores me. I am his family," he says. Valor's gaze strayed to the skyline. "His family," he whispered. Rusty's ears pricked up when they called me that once. "Do you mean your former owner?" "Yes," replied Valor quietly. "I once led a man into combat. A soldier. He used to whisper and massage my neck. We ride together, and I carried him through fire, muck, and rain. I kept running because I thought I was defending someone who loved me, even when arrows fell and my legs bled." The breeze became silent. Curiosity gleamed in Rusty's eyes. "What took place following the war?" Valor inhaled deeply. "He sold me at the end. He claimed that he was no longer in need of an old horse. He didn't even turn around. I discovered that day that people don't always remember those who support them." Rusty fell silent. The air was filled with the sound of crickets. The light flickered softly as he glanced toward his master's window. He wished to think that Valor was mistaken. That was what he had to think. Days went by. Rusty continued to reflect on what Valor had said. However, life continued to feed, protect, and retrieve. Now he became aware of minor details. How his master's anger affected his tone. How their elderly dog was tethered outside in the cold by the neighbors. The story of a farmer who sold his injured ox without hesitation. Rusty's eyes had transformed, but the rest of the world remained unchanged. Winter came early a few weeks later. The nights grew colder and the fields paled. A storm started one evening. Through the valley, thunder roared. The rain continued to fall. At the window, Rusty let out a bark. The barn door had not been shut by the master. Valor neighed loudly inside. Water was rising to his legs in the stall, which was overflowing. Desperate, Rusty went to the farmhouse door and let out a louder bark. "Stop now, Rusty," his master yelled. After that, close the window. Nobody paid attention as Rusty screamed once again and scratched the door. He dashed into the rain after turning. As the wind smashed the barn's doors, it moaned. With a heavy rope tied around him, Valor struggled, barking and tearing at the rope with his teeth. Rusty pushed through the mud. His gums were sliced by each tug, but he persisted. "Hey, Rusty!" Over the storm, bravery yelled. "Go, you'll drown." Rusty shook his head and hissed. "You said humans leave when we can't serve them. That may be the case, but I won't abandon you." One of the roof's beams broke and fell. Rusty leaped forward and bit the final knot. The rope broke. A tremendous boom sounded behind Valor as he dashed into the storm. "Hey!" and we were used to bury Rusty. The beam was too heavy for Valor to move with his head, so he naiaded loudly. He spent the entire night by his side, using his body to protect him from the rain. Slowly, morning arrived. The storm was over. The farmer froze at the scene after running to the barn. Rusty is still alive but lying feeble. Standing over him, trembling with fatigue, was Valor. The man's expression dropped. He raised Rusty's head in his hands while kneeling. "Why? Boy, why would you do this?" he muttered. His face was covered in muck and tears. He examined Valor's wounds, the mud, the shattered stall, and the fact that something inside the man had also broken. That night, the man used his own hands to clean Valor's wounds for the first time in years. After constructing a suitable shelter and providing them with hot meal, he muttered, "Thank you for teaching me what loyalty really means," as Rusty eventually opened his eyes once more. Weeks passed. Rusty limped slowly, but grinned as he recovered. The man stopped shouting. After the disaster, he began going to see his former neighbors and assisting them with roof repairs. Even food for stray animals was brought by him. The village became aware. A few chuckled. He has softened. However, others did the same. A chained dog was released by a farmer. Another ceased to beat his cow. The world took time to alter. However, one tiny deed started to mend it. Valor and Rusty now frequently watched the sunrise together. The chilly wind brushed through their hair and fur as they stood silently side by side. "You see," Rusty whispered quietly, "Valor, people can evolve. They can forget, but they can always learn again." Valor gave a small smile. "Rusty, I was mistaken about them. Perhaps not everyone is mean. They occasionally only require a reminder of what kindness looks like, and that's the reality of people. While not all are negative, not all are also positive. We are complex beings that are able to injure what we love while simultaneously having a tremendous capacity for love. We construct houses, but occasionally we overlook the hearts that reside within. We coin terms like friendship, loyalty, and compassion. However, we continue to test them until they malfunction. Perhaps, yet, that is what makes us human. We forget when we fall. However, we can also get back up. We have another chance to learn. Valor and Rusty did more than simply weather a storm. They maintained one another's convictions. They made a man realize the true meaning of humanity. The entire hamlet was then reminded by that man. Kindness spreads like that, through deeds rather than words. Rusty was unable to sprint as he once could when he grew older. However, the man never left him. Rusty slept soundly every night in the little bed he constructed next to the fireplace. With age, courage also waned. He was no longer forced to carry large things by the man. Rather, he let him to move freely on the field where the golden light of the sun kissed his man. Village kids would occasionally stop by to visit them. "Uncle, why do you still care about them?" They would question they're very old. "Because once, when I forgot what loyalty meant, they remembered for me," the man would add with a kind smile. Rusty and Valor grew old together as the years went by. The world was constantly introducing new devices and lifestyles. However, people continued to feed the stray dogs in that tiny village. They continued to take good care of their animals. They could still recall the storm tail and the horse and dog who came to each other's aid. Additionally, some people claim that you could still hear a distant neigh echoing and a faint barking every night when the wind whispered through the fields. Perhaps it's simply the breeze. Perhaps it serves as a reminder that loyalty endures forever. It simply transforms hearts. Ashraul Maklukat, the most noble of all living things, is how humans were created. We were endowed with a mind that can create or destroy, a heart to feel, and hands to assist. Whether or not people are nice or terrible is not the question. What are we going to be today is the question, because each of us has the ability to restore someone's faith in compassion. Let's make the most of this power. Instead of breaking, let's construct. Instead of hurting, let's heal. Let's remind the world that being human was never about supremacy. It was always about compassion.